Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm very excited to be here today with a good friend of mine, Alex Badiu. And the reason we're here today is to celebrate the rollout of a course that he has been working on for well over the past 6 months. It's a course on data storytelling and user-centered design in Power BI. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Alex, he is someone with a finance and economics background, but has really become a world-renowned Power BI designer. If you're on the Novi Pro portfolio site, he currently has 4, I think, of the top 5 most popular reports on that site. They're each kind of intricate masterpieces that I would really encourage you to check out. And he has put together this course really with the idea of exploring best practices in report design from a whole range of different perspectives. And so I wanted to welcome him here today and have him kind of start off by just talking about his journey into data analytics and particularly visualization. So thanks for being here today, Alex. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me, Brian. Hello, everyone. And yes, so thank you for the introduction. It was quite an adventure to make this course, and as you said, I spent a couple of months thinking and preparing all the aspects, and also building the story of the course, and took an approach to make it as clear as possible with examples, so that users can learn something from it and apply right away storytelling in their reports. Because storytelling, it can be an abstract word, sometimes like a buzzword, but what does it mean and how can you integrate it inside the Power BI reports? That was my goal, that was my aim, and that's why it took so much to prepare it.
And we'll definitely talk a lot about kind of how you got from there to here, but you've got a really interesting journey kind of in analytics and data visualization. I wanted, if you could just kind of spend a little bit of time kind of going through kind of where you started from and kind of how you got to where you are today in terms of both skill and interest.
Well, basically I started to work with reports and applications even from high school, because I was creating applications in technology that was called Flash. And then I had a mathematics, informatics background. I studied in university economics and then finance. And I got interested into finance and numbers, also statistics a bit. So I was a bit prepared for the data analysis, but I didn't know which path I will take. And when I started to work with Power BI, I knew this is the tool I will work with. I changed the company. I became a BI manager, and then I started to work also with Tableau. Came back to Power BI again, and when I changed back, when I worked with Tableau and came back to Power BI, I discovered that the tool evolved very much. So in order to be to advance quite fast, I started to find enterprise DNA, and I started to participate to the challenges. In the first challenge, I started with challenge number 2, which I never applied. I never published my solution because I thought it was too bad compared to the other ones. And I promised myself I will start with the third challenge. And on the third challenge, I participated. I created my report in a camping, on a laptop in my car. It took 2 hours, but I published, and I was very happy to publish my report, and people really liked it. So starting the fourth challenge, the first challenge that I won for Enterprise DNA, I really took the time to really participate, and from day 1 to the last day of the challenge, I really worked to improve my report. And then I just loved it and continued, and now I have more than 12 participations to Enterprise DNA challenges.
And you were actually the one who kind of broke the challenges in the sense that I think it was because of you that we had to put the rule in that experts couldn't win challenges anymore because you were just dominating and wanted to give some room for others. So you kind of changed the course of the game there. So is that report number 2? Does that still exist? Is that something we'll ever see?
I think I have that challenge somewhere, but I think I will improve it before publishing it.
I think it would actually be really interesting because, I think some people who start in challenges kind of, I think, believe that the people who are really producing amazing work kind of did so right from the start. And it's not true that, I think all of us who've participated for a long time have seen really sharp improvement in our own reports. And I think, people looking at your reports now, I think to see kind of where you started from and, the progression you've made, I think would actually be quite valuable.
Yeah, I think there are two things to note. One, when you start with your reports, you are afraid that others will judge you or you are not good enough compared to the others. But then there's a second point where you create a report. It is you have very good feedback, and you are afraid to participate again because you are afraid to do a report that is less good as the first participation. So I understand this because sometimes, and I wrote in my wrap-ups, sometimes you have inspiration, sometimes you don't. It's a muscle that you need to train, and you really need to follow some rules in order to make sure that your reports are always good in terms of UX UI. But sometimes you have good days, bad days. But you always learn, and I learned a lot from my past challenges, and also in the course I created, I show reports that I judge today, and I know they're not that good, but I'm trying to show, one, how you can make them better, and two, not be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone can make mistakes, and you should do mistakes in order to improve.
It's funny you mentioned that about, that you're not always going to be on, because you said something to me. I remember I did challenge 5 and I was very pleased with my entry in challenge 5. And then I came back in challenge 6 and it was a disaster. Just nothing worked the way I wanted it to. It just didn't come together. It's just a bad report. And I remember being really down about it. And you said, creativity is not a constant. And that's always stuck in my head, that there are just times when you don't see the path on a report, or you don't have the inspiration. And I actually found that very encouraging and came back the next challenge with a much better report. But I think kind of taking that to heart and just learning what you can, even during those periods when you're not kind of clicking the way you'd like to. That was something that really stuck with me, and I appreciated that when you told me that.
Yeah, I believe it's true, and I really felt it because every challenge is different, every data set is different, and the challenges from enterprise DNA, they are known to be difficult, and that's how you will learn, by not staying in your comfort zone. You need to try new things.
So who would you say this course is primarily targeted for? Like, are there prerequisites, or is this something that kind of anybody at any level you think can jump into?
I think this report is for everyone. I really try to put some tips and tricks, some new things, some new aspects that I think can be helpful for everyone, even experts. But also, I do not forget that there are many people that just get started with Power BI. So I think it will be very helpful for them. And I think that people should know at least a bit of Power BI, just to get started, just to work a bit. And I also, in the last couple of months, I really looked at all the reports that I could see on LinkedIn on the different challenges that can exist. And I really try to find patterns to improve. And I really thought of those people that really want to get to the next level, and they're open to learn, open to implement new things in their reports. And I put in practice these tips that will really bring value right away for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I think we can all kind of use that sort of insight. So in going through the reports that you did, and looking at, kind of the range of designs, what were some of the common mistakes you saw people making?
I think the most common mistake is to create too many visuals in one page, to try to put everything you can find in one dataset. You are not concentrated on just one story. You are concentrating on all the stories that you can find in the report. And I think people should put themselves in the shoes of their audience. They need to know the most important aspect of the analysis. They don't need to know everything about the dataset. So this is the first mistake I think I see. The second one is the use of color. And I think the color is the most precious tool that a designer can have. And people tend to use too much color on their reports. So these are the two main problems I can see. And then, of course, there are some small aspects in terms of navigation, in terms of interactions between the different elements on the page. Because I think that Power BI has a very important advantage compared to PowerPoints or static analysis. I think that the way we can use Power BI to create interactions between different graphs can bring a huge value to the auditors.
Agreed. And I know in kind of putting your course together, you looked at kind of a huge range of of source material, reports and articles and videos and books, and I'm wondering kind of if you could cite kind of a few of the ones that you were kind of most influential in your thinking.
Well, I try to find inspiration everywhere. It's like in the reports, I didn't really took just one book or just one blog to find the ideas. I try to find them everywhere. I took a lot of inspiration from what I learned from Enterprise DNA and from the discussions with the other experts. I read also all the books that I could find, and I read about blogs, and also I looked at everything I can find on photography, because I'm also passionate about photography, and also painting. So I try to find elements that are interesting to use with storytelling inside Power BI, and I try to find inspiration everywhere, not related to Power BI, not related specific to to design. I try to be as open as possible.
What would you say to somebody? Because I've heard people say this, and I may have even said it myself at times, in terms of people who say, "Hey, I'm not really artistic or creative. Kind of how much can I improve, and why is it important to do that? Isn't the analysis enough?"
I think it is important to get better in storytelling and in design, and I think everyone can learn to do it. I mean, you don't need to be an artist. When you are in a company, you don't create data art reports. You create reports that are meaningful and that are easy to understand for the user. So there are a lot of things that you can learn in terms of colors, in terms of hierarchy, in terms of space, negative space, in terms of navigation. Here, you don't need to be an artist. You just need to follow best practices. And I think you can create awesome reports. And also for the people that are very technical and they do not really spend that much into the design and storytelling, I think it's a pity, because the user, what will see is your report. So they will judge all the work you've done based on the last part of the report, which is the visual part.
Yeah.
And I think that, you can have the perfect model, you can have the best DAX analysis. If your report is not clear, understood, and you don't have an action plan, you don't have a recommendation, something on your report, you will lose a lot of interest from the audience, and also a lot of you will lose all the adoption. So you need to pay attention to this. And we all know that you have different blocks, like the modeling, the data preparation, the DAX, and then you have the visual aspects and the story. And I think the story is like on the pillars is like the roof, because based on the story you want to tell, you need to make it easier for the user. So you need to have also the technical skills in order to tell the story you want to tell. So the people that think that they need to concentrate only on the design, my recommendation for them is to go and learn the technical part, because the best way to use Power BI is to have a good equilibrium between design, storytelling, and also modeling, DAX, M, etc.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, though, in the sense that the data prep and the data modeling and the DAX and the M code is all stuff that an expert looking at your report will appreciate, but your typical management viewer or viewer in the public, they're not going to see any of that. As you say, it's going to be the visualization, the design, the navigation, the story that really draws them in. Wondered if you could talk a little bit about kind of the best way for folks to go through this course. I think each course is different in terms of kind of how much to watch passively before you kind of engage with your own data or with exercises. And wondering for this one, kind of how do you see people making the most out of this course?
I think the best way is to take in order, to start with the beginning and take the videos in order. Because I took a path where in the beginning I'm talking about the thoughtful process, how you can identify your story, what questions you should ask, and what things you should know before starting to work on your report. Because you can't work on a report and create a design report based on Excel the same way you can create on a report that is in direct query with hundreds of millions of rows. You need to adapt. You need to know what you can use. You need to know what visuals you can use. You need to understand your audience in order to start working. So this is very important, for the story. And it's a bit more theoretical, but I think it is important to understand from the module, best practices, the layout, the Gestalt principles, the rule of thirds, all these aspects that will make you understand how you can put in practice your report, how you can create connections between different graphs, how you can plot your reports on a page, what is important on the top, what is less important in the bottom or right side. You need to understand all these concepts before putting in practice inside your Power BI the report you want to say. So in my course, you'll not only learn what is storytelling, but you will learn also from the design point of view, we learn how you can create your layout. And then on the last part of the report, you have best practices, you have UX laws, you have examples, you have everything you need to create your reports right away. So this is the order I took. Maybe you are an expert in the questions, so you want to go farther, faster to the best practices. You can do that. But my recommendation is to take everything in order. You will see that even though the course is 3 hours and a half, you can say it quite fast. And also, if you are afraid that you will forget at the end all the best practices, I also prepared a cheat sheet that will summarize all the best practices that you can have in just a couple of slides. And you can start creating your reports knowing that you have all these lists of best practices next to you.
Yeah, that is a great resource. And I think, it's something even as you go through the course and start, building, whether it's your challenge reports or your reports from work, to kind of have that checklist as kind of a last round of review, to kind of go through and say, okay, did did I consistently adhere to, these points and take these into consideration? I think that in and of itself is going to result in, big improvements. I know in my reports, because there are just times when even if you're cognizant of these, you slip into, some old bad habits. And so I think that, that checklist is going to be a great way to, kind of ensure kind of keeping on the right design path. So really,
I did it also as the story in a report. My course has a purpose, and the purpose is to become a better data storyteller. So you need to practice. And I created this cheat sheet because I want you to practice. I don't want you just to look at my report and say, okay, now I'm an expert in storytelling. You need to take your journey. You need to learn as much as you can, and you need to practice. And sometimes you will consider that some best practices do not apply on the context on your report. It can be true. Sometimes you may consider that there are other best practices that need to be added. Okay, but you need to practice. Everyone needs to practice. You will not become an expert in this field if you do not practice.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And you can just see that in everybody who participates on a regular basis in either our challenge or other challenges, that you just see that continual improvement. So I just really want to thank you. I know this was a labor of love for you. It was months and months of research and thought and effort and design into the course, and I think people are going to love this. I think it's really going to have a big impact on the quality of your reporting, and I think overall is just going to kind of raise the level for us as a whole. Because I think one of the things that I've really appreciated is the fact that you and a bunch of the other participants not only do great reports, but then you write those up and write them up in a way that we can go back and learn from. And I think as the level of those reports rises overall, which I think it will following this course, that just creates a greater and greater storehouse of knowledge, and just a kind of a continual improvement process. So I think you've really added a great resource to our collection, and kind of to the overall design process. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much for pushing me to do this, because it was quite a challenge. This is the first time I'm doing a course, and yeah, it was an adventure, and I'm really happy that I put this together, and I hope people will like it, and they will become better data storytellers.
I think they will. Well, thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you, Brian. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Enterprise DNA TV. If you enjoyed the content covered in this particular tutorial, please throw the video a like. It really helps us and we really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Enterprise DNA TV channel. We have a huge amount of content coming out all the time from myself and a range of content creators, all dedicated to improving the way that you use Power BI and the Power Platform. Lastly, check out Enterprise DNA's website, plenty of resources and further learning that you can access very easily. All the best. Take care.